Yeah, I think one of the things that you see in 1 Corinthians 15 is in verses 3 to 8 you have, I guess, the content of the gospel. And we often, when we preach on 1 Corinthians 15 or unpack it in a Bible study, we really look at the content of the gospel. We look at the idea that Christ died for our sins, that he was raised, that he appeared, and all those sorts of things. But we don't often think through what are the implications of that. What is the intent of the gospel? And you see that in the previous verses, in verses 1 and 2. You see that the gospel is a message that's preached and received. It's preached to Paul by Jesus. Paul receives that gospel and then proclaims that to the Corinthians themselves. And then presumably that the gospel continues to roll on from there. And so it's a message that needs to be not just kind of kept on a bookshelf somewhere or archived, but it's a message that needs to be proclaimed and heralded across the world. The implications for that, I guess, for us in ministry, firstly, I think we need to reclaim gospel confidence. There's a stat that 74% of Christians in Australia became Christians before the age of 18, which means that for a lot of churches, they haven't seen people become Christians for many, many years, perhaps for some churches even decades. And so we need to constantly remind ourselves of the power of the gospel, not only the content of the gospel, but also what the intent of the gospel is, and reclaim that gospel confidence that as we preach it and people hear the good news of Jesus, that people will be saved. Second thing is plant churches, and that's what Geneva Push is all about. They want to see grounded and growing churches pop up all over Australia, and there's loads and loads of statistics that show that church planting is an effective way of proclaiming the gospel and incorporating unchurched people into churches and helping them to grow in their knowledge and their love for Jesus. The third thing is we need to help existing churches that have been around for a little while, whether that's 10, 20, 30, 40 years, to reclaim that mission priority. I think there's a natural drift away from mission in ministry that we need to constantly resist. And the reason for that is, of course, there's all sorts of kind of factors, pressures that we deal with in ministry life that mean that often what happens is mission and thinking about sharing the gospel with the lost is actually put on the back burner. So we want to help people grow in their gospel confidence, reclaim that gospel confidence. We want to plant churches and help existing churches avoid that mission drift.